Hello, my friend. Jakob Anker Nielsen here. I return now with the latest and final entry to my vlog series regarding my experience being a member of the cohort of the Certified Technical Architect program by ServiceNow. I've been doing this to give you some idea about what the program is like, what you can expect, a couple of insights and tips here and there. That is also what I'll be doing today. So today I'll be speaking about the topics of week 11, 12, and give you a few pointers on the capstone. So this will kind of wrap up my slack because I have been a bit behind. In the end, the capstone exam and other circumstances required more of my attention than assumed. So I was not able to keep up the weekly cadence. Forgive me for this. And I hope you do enjoy some of the content here today. I will start off quite fast with week 11. One of the topics here, was regarding performance management. And I'll just share my screen here for a second. What I want to show you is two things. The first being fine-tune your ServiceNow platform with regular performance administration. This is a PDF that you have free access to on the Customer Success Center of ServiceNow. So that would be servicenow.com/success. And you will get to the destination and you will be able to search for this and find it. The reason why I'm recommending this is that, in my opinion, far too often we use a lot of time on acting on incidents and performance issues, and we probably do too little to prevent them in the first place by having proper hygienic activities. And that is exactly what this PDF or workbook here addresses. It proposes some daily, weekly, monthly, and quarterly instance performance activities that you could add to your daily activities as an administrator of a ServiceNow platform, which in turn will give you better performance over time, less incidents, and more time to do other stuff. Additionally, I just want to highlight the performance sheet here on the ServiceNow community. You can find this by searching for Jakob Anker's performance sheet, as you can see right here. You should be able to find this. And what I have attempted to do is a compilation of all of the performance solutions and services that are available to you as a ServiceNow user or administrator. I tried to segment them into platform solution, platform logs that may be relevant to you, health assessments, and other services. I will not go deep into this one now, but I do advise you to familiarize yourself with it and its content, as it may have help be of service to you. If I was to bring out two tools in here, I would say the first being one of the newest additions in Washington, D.C., that is the ability to do performance profiling, which is an extended feature of the automated test framework that we are all familiar with at this point. So you're able to leverage your existing tests to also now understand not only if there has been a regression to one of the processes, but also to the performance. So it will test 10 times the process in a standardized setup in terms of network and client and so on. So there are no variables, and then give you a very specific idea of if one of the changes that you have introduced, or if the major release that you just upgraded to, if it has introduced some performance impact that you might want to mitigate before moving anything to production. The second tool that I would like to advise you about is, and oldie but goldie, it is transaction call chains. Please go and visit the sheet here again for further details. Essentially, it allows you to do a far deeper debugging than I see most administrators do before raising a now support ticket. Of course, you can still raise these tickets, but you can also do a lot for yourself. Also in extension of the activities that you saw in the maintenance PDF or workbook from before. Essentially, what transaction call chains allow you to do is to track specific transactions. So let's say that you have users complaining about a slow performing form or a dashboard. You are then able to go into the transaction log. You can find specific entries where you can see that a user has visited this form here on this specific URL, and hereby knowing also by the timestamp if it's the correct transaction you have found that matches with the reported slowness. The cool thing now is that on a UI action on the transaction form itself, once you open it up, you have the ability to track a transaction call chain. And what this does is that it allows you to understand not just the initial transaction, but also the subsequent transactions that are being fired as in response in sequence of the initial opening of the form or dashboard. And this is powerful as you then can understand if you, for example, have any before query business rules or anything else in terms of logic or transactions that may cause the system to stall. You can see each of them will have their own little transaction row. You can see the duration and source. This will further your debugging in understanding why you are experiencing slow performance a great deal. Going to week 12 now. In week 12, one of the topics that we discussed were presentation skills, which was a refresh or rehash of one of the earliest weeks as well. And this was, of course, in preparation of the then upcoming capstone presentation that we have. What really struck me, or what I took away from the experience of being a part of CTA, is there's a large emphasis and focus on the presenter's ability to efficiently communicate to the audience in both a pleasing, visually pleasing manner, and also to communicate to the audience in terms of where they are and their current goals, ambitions, and challenges, and so on. I would like to show you actually a bit from my capstone project now to show you how I went about solving some of the visuals around doing the capstone, and also to give you some insights as to why I chose these visuals here to support my message. This here is the initial title slide on my capstone presentation that I used. And what I want you to notice here is that the core theme of the presentation is digital transformation. That is what our enterprise client wants to achieve. I've been relating this to evolution. And you can probably guess that is why we also have a zebra now. So what I want to do is to draw the attention towards understanding the digital transformation of an enterprise as what we in nature understand as evolution by Darwin. To further strengthen this point, I follow up with another zebra and stripes flowing in from the right, and a quote saying that it's not the strongest or most intelligent species that do survive. No, it's the one that is most able to adapt. I think this is actually a quite strong metaphor for understanding digital transformation and the challenges that we see. Notably, we can look at Google as an example. So Google is a mastodont. It has had monopoly on the search engine. It's been the search engine of the internet for ages now. It was unthinkable that anything could actually really challenge this. But then large language models happened. Suddenly we had ChatGPT gaining 5 million users in a week or so. And suddenly we've experienced this entire new way of experiencing the net. And then we have Copilot coming in from Microsoft. Copilot embedding your web search, like we know from ChatGPT, with links to what you are querying for, and a toggle to work-specific searches as well, where we are now able to search through our Teams messages and our Outlook emails and our intranet in terms of SharePoint files. And now, instead of relying on having a structure of knowledge inside of your organization, which, by the way, never is achieved anywhere, you are able to ask Copilot to traverse this maze of a file structure to find content that is relevant specifically to your question. And so far, in my opinion, it's been quite powerful. Returning to the point, it just goes to show that it's important to be able to adapt. So Microsoft, in my opinion, has been more able to adapt here than Google have, which is also the reason why I, for example, switched from my browser being Chrome. I had it for years, going into Edge, something I never really considered or thought I would be doing, but it's just so nicely embedded into the application ecosystem that I need and use now on my work, as well as having an integrated Copilot in it. It just makes sense. Continuing a bit beyond some of the visuals, and by the way, the stripes and the movement and so on, YouTube morph transitions. Then you can see more examples of this. During the capstone, it is essentially, for me at least, it was a solution roadmap we needed to present that would solve the challenges presented in the different scenarios. So that's exactly what I did. I structured the different learning topics from the 12 weeks into a solution roadmap that would address, these objectives here. And throughout the presentation, I then tried to make sure that the customer, or the audience, always knew where we were on the solution roadmap here, to make it a consistent experience instead of a granular and isolated one. So keep this visualization in mind. And when I then go into each of the different topics, sorry, it was a repeat there. When I go into each of the different topics, what you can see here is one of the topics were the common service data model. In the top right corner, you are able to see, marked by a red pin, where we are in the solution roadmap process now. I also indicated some milestones with the diamond shapes to indicate where there will be some natural breaks in my presentation. Then I followed this structure here for all of the different solution components. I had a what. So what is the common service data model? Very high level, because we need to remember they already had a presentation on this topic. I then went into why, saying, why is this valuable for the client and the audience in particular that are watching on following this presentation here? Keeping in mind that the scenarios that we are given to address will have objectives, but also that the personas will be known, and we know what, so the personas being the audience, we know what they want to achieve, the desires, the challenges they see, and so on. And it's important that we think about both of these sides when we address the why, to say, why is the common service data model relevant to you? So this slide here would actually be different depending on who the audience would be. If I was to speak with a technical person, I would probably go into detail about how this data here will actually be stored inside of ServiceNow and what it will allow you to do in terms of technical features now and in the long run. Whereas when on a higher level in the hierarchy, for example, enterprise architect, I will speak more about a modeling approach, which they will be familiar with. Callouts. This is if there is anything significant that you want to highlight, or at least that's how I used it for, in this case, for the common service data model. One of the callouts that I did do is there was a quick win in terms of foundational data from that could be not migrated from another repository because it needs to be cleaned, but it was from another ServiceNow instance, and as such we could leverage some of the configurations in terms of import, set, transform maps, and integration configuration in general to have a shortcut to obtaining the same data sources as providers of foundational data to our instance, and then to fix these different objects here to make sure that the data coming into the system is suitable to our needs and not just a lift and shift. And that is my presentation let's go in here. I want to bring out one more topic. So this is a tip for you who are going to prepare for a capstone project. This was my method. We were given 2 scenarios, and each of the scenarios will contain a description of what we are to achieve, some risks, some challenges, objectives, and so on. And each of these different lines then represent items that we would need to cover in one way or another. What I did is that I merged these 2 essentially pretty much into one table that I created at the start of the presentation in my PowerPoint, not to be shared, but for my own preparation. So we had a topic, so this could be common service data model, performance objective. We want to be the best, have a best-in-class CMDB, service aligned, something. And then I put in, so where did I cover this topic here, this performance objective? And I did this on, for example, slide 3 and 12. And some notes, if there's anything of significance I need to remember and maybe correct and so on. And by doing this, I was able to fill out the table, ensuring that it matched all of the different lines or objectives that I was to address inside of the scenarios. Keeping in mind also that you do have persona descriptions, so you know, for example, the enterprise architect's risks as he, she sees it, the objectives and so on, which you also can think to represent inside of this matrix here to ensure that you have a consistent and fully covering presentation in the end. For my part, I did pass, so maybe it's not a golden rule. I think it's a logical rule and a good way to build confidence that you are that you get across everything you need to come across for sure. In the end, I guess the CTA journey will be different for everyone. I do hope that throughout this vlog series here, which I'll be wrapping up now, that you have been able to get some insights. I hope that you have enjoyed watching a bit and listening to me speak. I will now continue with my other side pet project, which is the ServiceNow Career Time Machine article series I've been writing for some time. It's been a bit on the burner for now. I will continue with, it is essentially some of the champions, some of the well-known figures inside of the ServiceNow community, both from ServiceNow and from the ecosystem as well, and talking to them about what would they have done if they could go back in time to the start of their career. And that is then, of course, aimed at providing you with some of the best advice that the best among us could give to themselves if they were able to travel back in time. So far, for me personally, it's been a great experience doing this article series, connecting with some cool people and also learning a lot. And I do hope that potentially you or someone you know also will be able to find some inspiration or insights in this series as well. I will be linking in the YouTube description for the different items we've been looking at, the PDF, the workbook, and also the article series just discussed. With that being said, I wish you an excellent day and the very best for your future, and hopefully I will see you and talk to you soon. Have a good one.